when I'm standing here, you know, I'm seeing like what would have been really abundant, really kind of resource-rich country. Not far from the coast, we've got this little hill here. Old people would have loved this country. They would have spent a lot of time in this landscape, and there would have been a lot of resources here that wouldn't have been here if they didn't burn the country the right way. So you've got to protect the canopy. You've got to look after, you know, the species that belong there. Otherwise they disappear, and then you lose your medicine, your food, your stories, your identity. You know, like language is from the land. You know, and that's really what Fire Sticks is trying to do, is trying to get people to understand we need to revive our cultural fire pathways. We need to revive those cultural practices. People that live on country need to understand the importance of being connected.
In, you know, getting from where you are now and to somewhere different, first of all involves, okay, we need to identify what do we want it to look like, then you can work out the steps it's going to take to get there. There's been this incredible work done that's basically looked at tree densities through these various methods when Europeans first arrived, and you usually had these big trees that were separated by 10, 15, 20 metres, so really widely spaced big trees with these kind of low, grassy but super productive ecosystems underneath them. So I think the sort of key structure that ultimately you'd be wanting to aim for, and this does tie in also just to standard thinking about fuel and fire behaviour, ultimately you need to aim for widely spaced trees. So you don't have fire, if a huge fire happened to be coming through, it's not just jumping from crown to crown, it drops down. The next thing is to have that understory, be it grassy dominated or fern or sedge dominated, and then have that ultimately managed, and ideally have that regularly managed with fire. That's, again, you're going back to looking at that healthy country, but ultimately you're looking at having fuel reduced. And I think a key concept for people to understand too, it's about a mosaic across all of the landscape. So if you've got patches at different ages, and you've got patches all through here that were burnt this spring, and others that were burnt last spring, and others that were burnt longer before, even if there's spots that are flammable, the fire's got to get through this checkerboard of different ages.
You don't put one fire through this in one lot just to say, okay, we've done it for 3 years. What you're actually doing is learning to read the landscape and go, oh look, that's the most, like it's May, say, it's that, and just this little patch here, that's the most brown. If I actually do drop a match in that, it will go out in the green. So you're actually just, it's like peeling a potato and going deeper and deeper. So don't think that you've got to get this all so dry that you're going to burn this all on one day and burn 10 hectares, because that's not what you want to do at all. You want to be just doing that mosaic approach, and that again gives you the confidence, because you start to learn and go, okay, the blady grass will be coming on soon. I actually want to burn that so that when I burn my next fire, it's not twice as dry and it won't get twice as hot. So that was a big learning for me, just to take that fear out as well.
These are long processes that we need to be thinking about. Okay, how do we transition a place like this back into what it can be? This can be an amazing, abundant place. It's got the soil and the light, and it's got all the features, but we need to start to understand the kinship between the trees and the plants, animals, and we start to understand what we can do to actually improve. And that's really, I guess, what we want to be thinking about, is getting that connection, understanding that there's a story there, and what's our role in that story, and how do we support each other to look after country and see that custodianship back in the landscape.